What was that shift like from Nearbuy to Groupon? I'm going to ask you a lot of questions about your journey, and you can motivate all of us here at the India Today Conclave.
Thank you so much for that. A very good evening to all of you, and thank you for having me again, Ayush. I'm just so lucky to be living this life right now. It wasn't planned, as was many things in my life so far. I decided to take a break from Nearbuy, which was the previous startup that I was running. And at the end of 2019, a 3-month break sounded like a good plan. And then March 2020 comes. The world goes to a complete spin. Everyone's locked up, and I am thinking of what next to do. I've had such a wonderful time building startups, learning from the mistakes that I've made, that I wanted to start sharing that with an audience, and I started creating content, which I had been for a while, but never with the rigor that I have had right now. And I believe that there was an audience waiting for that content, so I'm just so lucky that I was at the right place at the right time.
And that audience seemed to be craving, basically an audience in their 20s, craving something relatable. What did all of us young creators not do right that Ankur Warikoo came in there and swept everything up?
I believe the biggest thing was talking openly about failure and how everybody, irrespective of how successful they seem at the face of it, have gone through a phase that would be extremely difficult, challenging, and they have to recognize that that is perhaps the reason why they are where they are. So at the age of 42, when I'm speaking to somebody who is 18 to 24 years old, one, they would believe that I have the experience to have whatever is it that I'm saying. But two, if I openly admit as well that, hey, I have failed, here is where I went wrong, this is what I learned from that, that would be a completely authentic way of connecting with somebody, which they perhaps have not seen as much as they would have liked to.
It's just interesting, Ankur, because at some point or the other, as a business journalist or even in your original avatar, our paths would have crossed. Because when I was a kid, I always dreamed of becoming an astronaut. But you also thought of being the first man on Mars. Now, is that something that we're just, giving as this PR spiel, or was that the true story? Because you did go to pursue your PhD in the US, but you dropped out. Then you come back and pursue an MBA. How did that whole chakra really happen?
So it's true. I had a 3-step plan for my life. Step 1 was to go to the US to get a PhD. Step 2 was to become a space scientist and join NASA. And step 3 was to become the first man on Mars. And if you speak to anybody from my school and ask them, hey, do you remember Ankur Warikoo? They're like, shayad. What do you remember of him? And they'll be like, usko NASA jana tha. Like, that was my identity.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.